Hi, and welcome to the Yes You May podcast with your host, me, Amanda Mae Gray. Here we talk everything unfiltered confidence. I bring you real people, real business owners who are out there betting on themselves, forced to use their confidence and find their inner push. And that's something that I think we can all learn from. Interesting stories from real people that you can actually relate to. Today, we've got somebody who I don't think I've had anybody like this on. So I'm really excited to bring Stephanie Mitchell in. She's with a company called The Rolling Pour, and they are a mobile bartending service. Now, I don't have all the details on that, so I'm going to let Stephanie explain it and bring her on in. Stephanie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. Tell the people all about The Rolling Pour.
Yes, so the Rolling Pour is a mobile professional bartending service. And we do everything from your standard full bar service to bar activations, mixology classes, really serving to make the first impression at your event, which is the open bar, a memorable one. So, whether people are coming for just a water, a sweet tea, a Coke, a mocktail, or a cocktail, we are there to serve and we are there to put the wow factor in your event.
That's brilliant, and you're the owner of this. I don't know if I said that. I feel like I should highlight the fact that you are the owner and
I am.
proprietor, if you will.
Yes, yes, I am.
Tell me how you got into it. I mean, I could see how you got into bartending, but how did you start this business? Like, what made you go for it?
Well, it was a bit of a personal and professional shift. I still I own a mobile yoga studio, the Rolling Mat,
Mm.
and I launched that.
Oh,
Yeah, Rolling Enterprise here.
got you.
We bring the peace in the party, I like to say. And I started that back in 2016, and I had a really great run with it up until about 2021. There was
Hmm,
just a lot of shifts and pivots going on. We niched with the yoga studio, we niched into corporate wellness. So, as you know, after the pandemic, a lot of things were kind of shifty. So, I had to pivot a little bit.
yeah.
And though I still was working towards gaining my business and more business for the yoga studio, I kind of needed to just like reestablish and reinvent myself a little bit. Um, I went to school for meeting and event planning. So it's just events I love and they come naturally to me. And I've been a bartender for over 15 years. So I just decided to start a mobile bartending business. And didn't really have. I'm a jump off the cliff and fly kind of person. So didn't really know what it was going to look like. I just took it to
Yeah.
networking events around the holidays and I pitched it and I actually booked several parties,
Oh,
not even having a name for it yet. So, and then after that, I saw the demand and I was like, okay, so now we're going to LLC it. We're going to make sure everything is good to go, create a name. And then, almost 4 years later, here we are.
that's amazing. And you ended up with the rolling pour to go with your rolling mat. I love that. That's
That's right.
fantastic.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, it's great. It's easy and memorable, and
Right.
I can spell it. I feel like a lot of people try to come up with these fun, interesting names, and that's all fine and good, but if I can't spell it, I can't find you.
Right.
If I can't remember it, I can't find you. Maybe that's our big tip of the day.
Yeah. That's right.
Be
Something
be
memorable.
memorable. Yes,
Hmm.
exactly. So you started though with the yoga business. How did you get into that? Let's keep rewinding and get back to your origin.
Yeah, so that came when I was in college.
Mm,
I've always loved like working out and
same.
being healthy and as healthy as I can. I mean, of course, I'm not perfect, but um, I had to take a wellness class when I was in college as like a extra electoral,
Hmm,
and part of it was getting like 40 hours outside of that class of physical fitness classes that the
okay.
school offered. I went to Kennesaw State, so that Kennesaw State offered. So I love Pilates. I'm a Pilates girl, and that's primarily what my workout routine consisted of. And then my school offered Pilates classes, which was great, and I took those. But then I was like, yoga. I haven't tried yoga, and this was back in I don't know, 2008 maybe.
Mhm. Still
um,
still new for the yoga world in the US, really.
yeah, absolutely. So I signed up for a yoga class and like instantaneously took to it because it had a lot of the same kind of discipline as Pilates
Sure.
with the breath and the core connection, but it was even more than that to me. I really noticed the benefits of, especially the teacher that I had too. The teacher was great. So teachers, just like in school, yoga
Make a
teachers,
huge,
they make a huge difference in your
huge
overall
difference.
experience. And she was a fabulous teacher, and she really, stressed the connection of the mind, body, breath, and then leading into spirit, meditation, and things like that. So I took to it from the very first class. And then I started diving a little bit deeper into the practice. I developed my own home practice, had no idea that it was going to be something that I owned a business on one day. It's just something
Yeah.
that I like doing. So fast forward a little bit, I graduate from college. It was a horrible job market at the time. So
Mm,
I had some, just various jobs, and I was bartending throughout
right,
this whole process
because
because
that's
it's
what
money,
you do.
right? Right,
Yep,
exactly.
yep, that's
And I
been
love the
there.
people that I love the people that I met also, so it's like networking within itself, when you're a
It
bartender.
is.
Um, so I finally got like my big girl job, what I call, and it was a great job. I got to travel. I worked with college students. I was a public speaker at a lot of their like events that they did, like just across the country, which was really cool. And then I got laid off, and then I had that
Mm,
now what moment. It took me this
yep.
long to find this big girl job, right? So then I was applying for jobs, applying for jobs, applying for jobs, and I just wasn't getting anywhere. So I took some time and I went out west and really connected with what it is that I love to do. And I love to travel. I love music. I love wellness. I love yoga. So I just created a mobile yoga studio, and again, not knowing at all where it was going to get me or the
Yeah.
clientele that I was even going to serve. And I just started off with community classes. Those community classes turned into corporate clients. And then from there, I had yoga teachers that were asking me, like, how are you getting into corporate? So then I started a whole mentorship program based off of that and all of the successes that we had had. So just really being in that framework of service, I feel like that's what I'm here to do, to lead, to help people, and to be of service, whether that's on the mat or behind the bar. So
That's amazing. That it's funny how one thing leads to another and you're like, "I don't know where this is gonna go," but it all
absolutely.
unfolds just the way it needs to. And those you said you were speaking yourself in the colleges. That skill has translated and been useful in terms of teaching other people what you're doing with your business to help them. So I really think that's really fascinating.
Yeah.
How did you decide or find the confidence, right? We talk about confidence here. How did you feel like, "Okay, yes, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna bet on myself." Like, where did that come from for you, and how did you feel secure in saying, "I'm going in on this?"
Mm. It came,
Ooh.
yeah, it came from the rejection that I
Mm,
continuously kept receiving. Um, it also came from the people in my life that have
mm,
always exuded confidence, within themselves and then within me. Like my family, my parents, they raised me to be a confident woman. Um, and I think that that really, and I have, several entrepreneurs in my family. So I think just being surrounded by
mm.
the support that I have had and still have, I'm very grateful for that. And I think that that is really what allowed me to say, you know what, like, I can do this on my own, even though I don't know what it looks like. Because I've always been told, like, if you want something and you want it bad enough, you'll have it, you'll get
Mhm.
it. You have to keep going, you have to keep showing up. And I've seen it, in my family life, for sure. Like with my dad. My dad's an entrepreneur. He didn't start that way, but ended up that way. And I've seen him and watched him work really hard for our family throughout my life. And just the confidence that I was really provided as a small child, and then all throughout my school years, after school, that I knew that I was meant for more than just applying for corporate jobs, that I'm just going to work on someone else's dream, you
Mhm.
know. Which there's nothing wrong with having a corporate job. I don't want to sound like you shouldn't, but for me, I realized after all the rejection that I had, like I had to flip the script and
Gotta
get
try
out
something
there
new.
and do something on my own. Yeah.
Yeah, it's important. It's hard. It's a scary spot when you're like, "All right, well, what's left? What other options do I have?"
Hmm.
And to just bet on yourself. Now, okay, curiosity. How quickly were you finding success? Were you bartending throughout that whole time? Did you have any part-time work while you were building? So I think that's something that people just assume and poof, it's successful. But I often find people have, a little gig here, gig there, like are kind of dabbling in a few things while you're building your own business.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it wasn't just the yoga business. I was bartending throughout. And I actually learned a lot. I mean, from bartending, I started doing multiple beer yoga classes at different breweries. And this was like back in 2017, 2018.
Mhm.
And those classes grew into like huge sustainable classes that we would do,
Wow.
every month. And that's again a lot of where my corporate clients came from. But yeah, I was bartending at breweries, I was bartending at restaurants. I was also working for an event company where basically I was doing setup and breakdown.
Yep.
But also got a lot, learned a lot from that, and gained a lot of connections from that as well. So and even now, I mean, teach, part time. Um, and I pick up shifts, at a bar here and there, just because it helps me. It helps keep me on my toes. It helps me with speed. And again, it's like networking while you're making money, essentially, because you're meeting a lot of different people. You have regulars. They end up, they're interested in who you are and what you do. You're serving them, their beloved cocktails or their
Mhm.
beers. So like, what do you do? And then that way you're able to kind of have those organic conversations. And then that's also a confidence booster too, because anytime I tell
Yeah.
anyone about the rolling pour or the rolling mat, they're like, "Wow, that's a really awesome business model." Like that's really inspiring that you do that. So getting that feedback is sometimes really, because like as business owners, we are our own words of affirmation, right? Like we have
Mhm.
to get up every day, look in the mirror and say, I got this, I can do this, even when you don't feel that way.
Yes.
So when you're hearing, oh, great, good job, or that's really creative, or that's really awesome, and I want to know more from other people, it helps you so much internally with that, negative self talk that we sometimes get stuck in.
Absolutely. I think that external validation is huge. But it's like a double-edged sword, right? Like you can't rely on it and you can't go seek it out because if you just go seek it out, you're probably not going to get it, right? Because you're just fishing for the attention or the compliment. But like you said, that organic way to talk about your business and what you're doing, that normal conversation that comes up no matter what, everybody, right? Like it's America. What do we talk about? What do you do for a living? Like that's just how it goes. So I think that's really interesting and important and I also think it's interesting when you said, you started at breweries and that became a big thing, and then you got corporate clients from that.
Hmm.
A big lesson that I've learned is you just don't know who knows who or works where or does what. Like you never know who you're in front of fully. And so showing up and doing a great job regardless, and then just letting those connections happen, I think is a really important takeaway that it's not talked about either, right? Like, nobody's like, "Oh, just you'll just meet people and they'll, like, connect you." But that's how it happens, like, you just don't know who you're in front of
You
and
don't.
who is watching and who sees what you're doing. and
Right.
what
And
they
like,
might need.
yeah. And like you said, like people know people. I mean, that's in the mentorship program that I run for yoga teachers. That's what I tell them. I'm like, don't sell yourself short to go have these conversations. Like, one of them, for instance, she volunteers. She's in a volunteer group and they clean up trash around the city. And they've also been involved in like planting trees, you know?
Mm.
I'm like, just have these conversations, just have natural conversations with people because you never know. Like, that person that you're standing next to planting a tree with, that you're volunteering with, might work for Microsoft or something, or some other, corporate entity that might be interested in a wellness program. Like, you never know who you're going to meet. And like what we were talking about before, off camera when we were chatting, it's like sometimes you'll network in these groups, like with the Rolling Pour. We do some sponsorships for events and groups that we think are going to be viable for us. And it might be a year before we actually see the return on investment, but that's still very, very profitable, for your business to get out there and just show face, show people what you can do, show your personality. And you never know when that business might come and where it might come from.
It's funny. I'm going and giving a keynote speech next week, and the person who contacted me is somebody that I technically worked for, like, 15 or 20 years ago, literally. And she, we're still connected on socials, and she saw what I was up to. She's like, "I've been watching what you're doing, and I think it would be amazing if you could come speak to my organization." And I'm like, "Hi, blast from the past." Like, you don't know. So it's a combination of, like, doing a good job and
Mhm.
putting yourself out there, right? Like, you've gotta put yourself out there and be willing to say, "Here's what I'm doing." And it's not even the social media game 24/7, but it's putting things out there so that people are familiar, see it again, get reminded. Because if it's out of sight, out of mind, right? Like,
Yeah.
it is so easy. We're in our own little world,
Hmm.
and we just forget, and then we're like, "Oh, shit, yeah. Stephanie does have this company that we could bring in. That'd be amazing."
Right.
Or,
Yeah.
like, I went to this little networking, it seemed little, right? My town, Ackworth, small town, we have a networking community, and I was like, "I this, like, who at Ackworth networking business owners would need a speaker?" I don't know. But there were people there from the bank, right? And the local bank might be a local bank, the branch, but they're a big company, and you
Mhm.
just don't know who you're gonna run into, so it's always good to show up, be valuable, be interesting, and just be willing to talk about what it is that you do in an honest way, because people are curious, they do wanna know.
Yeah, and it's that consistency too, like that person that you're speaking for next week. You've been consistent. You're consistent on your social media, and it's not about posting every single day and like all of those things, which is just like not
It's
really
not
feasible.
realistic.
I think. Yes, it's not
It's
very
not.
realistic. It's kind of a time suck, and but I think if you just show up and you have that presence, even if it's just once a week, or you go out to those networking events, you find the networking events that work for you, and you just remain consistent with them. It's like advertising, like back in, not, I guess, kind of back in the day of like, a magazine, because I used to work for a magazine and I sold ad space when I was in
Yeah,
college. And it was, we would always try to sell them into at least a 7-month commitment, because it's going to take at least 7 times for someone to see your ad before they even consider acting on it. And that's even just consider acting on it. So then you need to re-up your ad space for another 7 months, so that, okay, this company is showing up. The ad looks great. I totally understand exactly what they offer. Clear and concise is also really important, like elevator pitches. Knowing, and giving people just enough, like when you're in conversation with them, to want them to ask more questions. You don't have to
yes.
go on and be like, oh, I do this, that, these are all my services and this is all I offer. It's like, well, I'm a mobile bartending service and we specialize in putting smiles on faces. And it's like, oh, what does that
Memorable.
mean?
Yep, yep.
So yeah.
That's
Clear and
important.
concise.
That's important to be interesting, right? Like
Yeah.
to have whatever it is that you're doing in a way that somebody else can remember it and then
Mhm.
speak to it on your behalf.
Mhm.
Because if it's not simple for you to say, then it's going to be impossible for somebody else to say as well.
Yeah, I had a coach a few years back that told me like you want your offer statement or even shorter than what your elevator pitch would be. You want it to be something that like a 5-year-old could understand.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
people are like, oh, okay, that yeah, I understand what you do, but like tell me more about the services that you offer. Then that way they're getting to know you, they're getting to know your business in a much larger way. You know, if it's just like clear and concise, and then that way they can ask more of those kindling questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you're somebody who's in front of other people constantly, right? Like you have to show up and you have to be confident behind the bar. You have to exude that presence as the owner as well. That's a whole nother hat that you've got to have on. So what are your tips for people? Is there anything you do to prepare yourself? Is there any like go-to things that you think about beforehand? Like, what are your tips for people on showing up confidently in person? Because I think that's something that has been a struggle since the pandemic for a lot of people,
Mm,
right?
mm,
And this next generation coming up, although I don't know if they listen to me, but either way.
yeah. Yeah.
Like that's a struggle for them. They are used to the screens 24/7, right? And then it would like that's what they know. They're not as good as this as person. So what do you have for tips for that in-person confidence to show up and, be true to yourself?
Yeah. I think a big part of it is knowing as much about your client and what they do as possible. So,
Mm,
with both businesses, the Rolling Pour, especially, we focus highly on corporate events. So if a company reaches out to me and say it's a sales team celebration, everybody like it's the end of the quarter, everybody hit their quotas, and now we want to celebrate. Well, I want to know a little bit more about number one, the person that's hiring me, that decision maker that's hiring me. And I also want to know more about the company culture itself, because
mm,
that's going to give me more confidence when I go in and show myself to this group of people that I really know like where they're coming from, that I really know like what their days have kind of been like, and maybe some of the stresses that they've had. So that we can have a really good time. And also, that helps me with drink creations. I try to keep them like on brand. I try
yep.
to make sure that we're appealing to the ones that like to drink and the ones that don't want to drink. So that's why we have specialty mocktails. So I think really knowing, getting as much information about your client and the business that they're in, really kind of it boosts your confidence, because you go into it knowing like who these people are a little bit more. And then for my business, I do site visits. So
Smart.
that, yeah, so that way I know exactly where to park.
Mhm.
I know exactly where the bar is going to be set up. So those little bitty intricacies that sometimes myself and my staff could get really stressed out on, I already know these things. I know where to tell people to go. I know what floor we're going to be on. I know exactly the setup that we need. And then when it comes to the event running smoothly so that I can show up for my client, I have just basically kind of like, okay, I have I have maybe two bartenders and one bar back. I'm going to put this bartender in charge of this bartender in charge of the glassware, and then the bar back is going to get affiliated with like where the stuff is going to be, so that they can, bring us more product as we need it. So getting really acquainted with the space, and
Mhm.
having that kind of team powwow, if you will, like right in the beginning, and giving everybody their own role. Then that way my team's doing it, and I can be interactive with the client and make sure that it's running smoothly.
Absolutely. I think that team aspect is huge, like having clear communication, again, about
Hmm.
what you expect from them, and what their roles are so that there isn't this like, "Well, I thought you were getting this. I thought you" like, instead of having those trivial things is really setting people up for success on the front end, which this is really more of a leadership tip than anything, but setting people up clearly, confidently on the front end. They know what they're walking into. They're, like you said, less stressed. That makes a difference. I've definitely gone to events because I bartended, the spokesmodeling, all of it, right? And I don't know anything, and I'm just walking in relatively blind, and it's very like there's just not the same energy when you walk in the place, and then you're kind of trying to figure it out, and then it just doesn't start the right foot off, and you're
Yeah.
not like you just feel way to your point, you feel so much more confident when you have the information. Being an
Yes.
expert with all that information is huge.
Yeah, and they're going to remember that too. Like your
Yes.
client is going to remember, like, wow, she really knows a lot about what we're doing and what our event is about and what we're trying to achieve with this event. Because those are the first questions I ask when people call me and they're like, "What are your services?" I'm like, "Well, what's your event?
Right.
You know, tell me what the
Yeah.
vision is for your event. You know, and what is it about, and who are we celebrating, and why are we celebrating?" And then that gives me a better, I can, of course I have my standard, kind of cherry pick package, but I can put together a more thoughtful proposal that speaks directly to what it is that they're trying to accomplish. So I think just not being afraid to get to know people, and also taking some time to do like 10, 15 minutes worth of research. And like you said, to your point too, like when you walk in and like you're flustered and you're trying to figure it out, you're not really coming across as your authentic self. You're coming
Nope.
across as like, ah, I'm stressed, and like everybody's going to feel that energy. I've been there. I didn't always used to do site visits when I first started the rolling pour,
Ask me why I do this.
Yeah, exactly. And I would go in and I'm like, wait, where do you
Yep.
want the bar? And like,
Right.
how do you want us to set up? And I don't want to ask those questions the day of event. I would rather just have it all figured out
As much as possible.
as
Yeah.
much as possible. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. It's that first impression, right? So
Mhm.
it takes 7 seconds for somebody to make a first impression of you. 7. That's nothing. That's nothing.
Yeah.
And it's 90, I don't know the percentage, I'm just making up, but like the vast majority is visual, right? So if you walk in and you don't know where you're going and you look frustrated or flustered or stressed, like they've already made an impression on you and decided that you're not as competent, you're not as confident, you're not as prepared, like all those things, and they add up. Now, can you change that perception? Absolutely,
Yeah.
of course, but it's a lot harder to overcome one negative impression than to start off strong. Like a
Mhm.
lot harder. Oh, this is what's the it takes 8 positive impressions to overcome one negative first impression.
So then you're working double time.
Triple, quad,
Yeah.
like 8
Yeah.
times. Do you even get 8 chances
Quadruple.
always? Right, like, you don't always get 8 chances to overcome. In
Mm.
what you're doing at an event, yeah, you will, but generally speaking, like, you've really gotta prove yourself at that point. So it's so
Well,
important
yeah.
to come in strong.
It is, and to that point too. I mean, like we were talking about, one of my big goals is to, find that event planner that, puts together multiple corporate events, a year, and they're looking for a reliable, professional, and
Mhm.
polished,
Easy to work with.
easy to work with bar vendor, so they don't have to shop for a bar vendor every single time. They know we get to know the company culture, we get to
Mhm.
know, the events, the style of events, what it is that they're wanting. And that's really what I'm going for. So if I were to go in and have a bad first impression, the odds of them hiring me back to do the next party are going to be slim to none. So yeah, it
Absolutely.
really, yeah. And, again, I'm not perfect and it didn't all start that way. I always went in with a lot of charisma and a great
Yep.
attitude, but I noticed that, like, man, I really need to know, like, at least where to park
Yeah.
before the event. Cause sometimes that's the biggest hurdle. Like, where do I park and
Oh
where do
my
I
gosh,
park?
yeah. Yes.
You know?
In Atlanta especially, right? Like, we're in
Yeah.
Atlanta. If you're not in Atlanta, good for you.
Yeah. Come to
No,
Atlanta
we
and
love
you'll find
Atlanta.
out. Yeah.
Like, it's a and especially parking at events can be like, you gotta get there minimum an hour early
Oh, yeah.
before
At
doors open.
least.
Not just a setup, you need to really be there like an hour and 15 minutes in advance so you can find parking, walk into whatever you're walking into, because that can take 10 minutes just getting from where you parked to actually inside the venue if it's up It's
Mhm.
like there's just so many
So
things
many
that
elements. Yeah.
so many elements. You really got to
And the
plan it out in
traffic.
advance.
Yeah, the
And
traffic.
traffic, yes.
Yeah.
I
I
always
mean,
give myself minimum 1 hour of drive time,
at
minimum.
least, yeah.
But if it's a Friday afternoon, it needs an hour and a half at least.
Yeah, yeah. I've been leaving a lot earlier lately because I've been noticing that traffic around the city has been starting at like 3:30 in the afternoon.
It's
It
bananas,
has
even
been.
on, like, a Thursday, and you're like, "What is
Mhm.
happening? I don't
Mhm.
understand. What are y'all doing? Do you guys not go to work?" And then you're like, "But I'm driving to work right now, so,
Right, right. I know. I'm like, why is everybody driving right now at 3:30? Like,
I always think that. I'm like, "But you are too, Amanda, so what are you questioning?"
right. Yeah, maybe they got their own business that they're driving
Well,
to.
well,
Yeah.
Atlanta does have a lot of that. That's for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Um, it's crazy, it's crazy. Well, the event world does its own little thing anyways, so there's also that. But
Mm.
tell me man, I don't wanna get off on an event tangent because that's so easy to do.
Yeah, events are fun to talk about.
They are, they're fun to go to, they're fun to talk about. It's different when you're on the other side of being paid to be at an event too. People are like, "Don't you wanna come to something afterwards?" I'm like, "No,
Mm-mm.
no,
No.
I'm good."
You're like, I'm gonna go
They're like,
home and
"Why?"
have a glass of wine and hang out with my animal
Hang out with my animals. People are like, "You don't wanna get married in Atlanta?" When we got married last year, I was like, "No, I
no.
work at everywhere that I would've no.
Right.
What's the fun in that? That's going to work, that's not a wedding."
Right,
But
exactly. Yeah, you're like, I just spoke at this venue. I don't want to get married here.
that's that's not special, that's not the same. Instead, I flew across the world and went to Italy. It's fine, it's fine.
Oh, good for you. Heck yeah.
Thanks, I appreciate
Yeah.
that.
That's awesome.
Um, how have mentors been a thing in your life? I assume there has gotta been you mentioned kinda like people have supported you and your parents did a great job and your dad's an entrepreneur as well. I
Mm.
have that in common. But have you had mentors come in and help you, or is that something that you haven't had a lot of experience of? Because I feel like that has definitely helped me. Like, people who have been there, done that, that have come in, and they give me a lot of, confidence, and well, I'll save that I have a part 2 for this question, so I'll let you answer that part first.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you're mentioning this because I have been thinking about maybe even actually like investing in
Mm,
a coach, but my mentors, yeah. So through the networking that I've done, and I've networked in a lot of groups. I mean, there was one time where like I was going to like at least one networking event a day every week,
wow.
to really find out where I fit in, really
Yeah, well, that yeah,
find out who those
yeah.
gate openers are, like who I want to keep showing up for, who I want to give my money to.
Mhm.
Those are all really important things. So anybody starting a business, like go to as many networking events as you can, and then hone in on the ones that you think are going to be really beneficial for you. So luckily, Atlanta, we have a lot of really great networking opportunities,
We
and
do.
the groups that I network in are specific to meeting planners, the event world. And through those events, not only have I gained friends, not only have I gained business, but I have also gained mentors. I have gained people that I've been having a shitty day and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing this for. Like we were talking about earlier,
Mhm.
you have to show up as your biggest fan every single day, right?
And it's hard.
And it's hard and some days are better than others. So there's a few people in these groups that I have become friends with and that I do, I'll call them and be like, man, I'm just having like the worst day, like, whatever's happening. And they speak from their experience. And some of the best advice I've ever gotten is to just keep showing up. Just keep
Yeah.
showing up, keep, showing your pretty face, showing your personality, all the things, and people gravitate toward you. They may not need your service right now, but that doesn't mean that
Mhm.
they're not going to need it later on down the line. So
Or know
I
somebody else who will need
yeah,
it.
or
Yep.
they know someone, yeah, that they tie, because people know people, like we've said. Always
People
keep
know
that in the
people.
back of your mind. Always keep that in the back of your mind. People know people. So I really think the mentors that I've received have been that's been such a big value of the networking that I've been doing. Not just, it's not just about the dollar aspect. It's about having that group of like-minded individuals around you that can be your cheerleaders when you're feeling like you're in a hole, you know.
That is huge. So that's something that was kind of part 2, right? Is the community aspect, because I think that being a solopreneur for the most part, or you have like some people, but like mostly you're a solopreneur, it's very isolating and it can be very what's the word I'm going for? Like you just kind of feel like, what am I doing? Like, am I crazy for even doing this? So finding like-minded people. And in your instance, it doesn't mean that your, community is other mobile bartending people, right? Like that's not necessarily it. It's people within the event industry. Like you and I met through MPI, which is a networking group for meeting professionals international. Let me say it
Yep.
correctly. But it's like-minded people that can support you, understand the business that you're in as a whole, and can make you feel like, okay, this isn't crazy. I'm not. And I
Right.
think that's something that as a younger me, I did not value and I
Mm,
didn't understand,
mm,
and has
mm.
been such a big thing for keeping me going, and people seeing the struggle and understanding the struggle and can empathize with it because they've been there or something very similar. And I think that's huge. So for you, right, like I said, it's not just bartending. It's the people within that event space, and I think that's something that maybe you could speak on and kinda shed some ideas on as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, to that point also, especially for like the Gen Z coming up in the event
Yes.
world, like you had mentioned, they're very screen oriented, right? So they're watching social media. They're seeing all
Mhm.
of this like amazing stuff, these awesome business owners. Nobody likes to talk about the shitty times though.
No,
Nobody likes
or the
to talk about
beginning,
the
right.
struggles. Yeah, or the
No.
beginning and how many sleepless nights you have or how much, debt you might have because you started this venture. Nobody likes to talk about those things because it's probably they don't feel comfortable sharing it because they don't know who's going
Mhm.
to see it. But when
It's
you're
not
actually
glamorous.
right, but it's relatable,
It's so
you know?
relatable.
And I wish there was more of it, but I
Yeah.
understand why there's not, I guess. I
Yeah.
understand why people don't do it, but I do wish there was more of it. But that's why the value of getting out into the community and meeting people because you start to build that know, like, and trust. And then you break down walls, and people will tell you, like, look, the first 2 years of my business, I was in the negative, but I just kept going, or like whatever
Mhm.
the struggle may be. People are more apt to share that with you front and center because you don't just become the LLC and everything is successful, right? It takes time to grow and you grow in the process. So like what you first started out thinking it was going to look like, it may not end up looking like 3 years later. So just always keep that in mind to be able to shift and pivot where you need to.
Well, and being open to people outside of your immediate realm,
Mhm.
right? Like,
Mhm.
because I think that's, in some industries and whatever, like you're like, oh, well, but you're not exactly this. So you're not going to provide value. No, anybody can provide value. Any business owner, any person, like there is value in every interaction that you have, even if it's just like, oh, I don't want to be like that. Okay, great. Well, now you
Yeah.
have an example of what you don't want to be.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
valuable. That's
That is
valuable, and
valuable.
it's yeah, and to your point, like, I do wish there was more, and maybe that's something that I could work on more is, like well, and that's kind of the point of the show, right? Is, like, to just show real people and have honest conversations that's
Mhm.
unfiltered, that's 'cause everything is filtered, everything is through this lens of, like, everything is perfect, and I'm always on point
Yeah.
24/7, but that's not the reality. That's
Mm-mm.
not how business works. Like you said, right? Some weeks you had or some months you had 15 events and then you had 2, right? Like
Right.
that's the real world up and down that I think we need to expose each other, but to your point, for sure, the younger generation too more and more
Oh
because
yeah.
that's why they have this crazy anxiety. That's why they have a hard time meeting people in person. They're trying to live up to this unreal like just it's just not real,
The
not
Instagram
reality.
standard. Yeah. What they see on Instagram,
And TikTok.
and TikTok. Yeah. And
And
all the other
TikTok.
all the other whatever
Mhm.
social media apps we have. Yeah, exactly. I think that being real is the best way, you can go about it. So I think there's a lot of value in that for sure. Like showcasing the not so good times,
Yeah.
because and it's really about how you show up during those times. Everybody celebrates when they succeed, right?
Mhm.
But when you feel like you're not succeeding, that's when you're down in the dumps and you're not celebrating some of the small wins. And some of those small wins might just be clearing out your inbox and getting, emails answered. Like that's a win, you got it done. It's one less thing that you have to worry about. So it's important to celebrate all along the journey, the good moments, the not so good moments, because they all serve a purpose.
They do. They do.
Yeah.
I had somebody on 1, 2 episodes, 3 episodes ago. Her name was Dr. Cherry Chase. She had this accident. She was on a bike and a car hit her, and she's been
Mhm.
paralyzed ever since. And she's, obviously through a whole roller coaster of things. But one of the big things
Yeah.
she talked about that I found, like I've heard it before, but it really hit home was like, at the end of the day, give yourself time to acknowledge the wins, however small that is. She's like, just that you ate an apple today, right? Like, she's like, even the littlest things, and maybe that's all you have, but acknowledge those little things that we often take for granted too, right? Like,
Yeah.
we don't, it becomes so like, well, yeah, we just did, oh, yeah, well, I just went to the gym, or yeah, I just did a yoga class. Well, I do that all the time. But that's still a win that you need to acknowledge, especially on days that you're having a harder time. It's like,
Mhm.
find the ups
Yeah.
wherever they may be,
Yeah.
however small they might seem.
Write them down,
Mhm.
like I like to do a lot of like, especially like summer months tend to be a little bit
A
on
little
the slower
slower.
side for us.
Mhm.
And I'm a very like driven, I'm not a very patient person, which is one reason why I do yoga so often, because it helps with that.
I
But I'm
should
not
do
very
yoga more
patient,
often.
yeah, we could do it together.
We should.
Yeah, we should. But I'm not a very patient person. So
Me either,
when I
yeah.
get stuck in those cycles, I like to write down. I'll just journal, and it could be three
Mm.
things, it could be 30 things of, okay, like look at everything I've already accomplished just this year alone. Like that's the headspace to be in. What you've accomplished and where you're going. Like you're grateful for how far you've come, and you're even more excited for where you're going. And it's not always easy to get into that headspace, and it takes practice and it takes work. But I find, journaling, writing things down to be highly effective as well.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's that acknowledgement that, okay. Oh, I heard something, and I've heard it a bunch of times as well, but, like, where were you a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago? Like, you right now, it's just commonplace, it's your comfort zone, but this is probably way different than what it used to be, and your old self is cheering, is so excited that you're here, and you're like, "Oh, but I'm not further along. Oh, but I'm not this. Oh, but I'm not that." But, like, you have to reflect back and take the time to see, "Okay, but wait, I did say yes to opening this business. I
Mm-hmm.
did bet on myself and say, 'Okay, alright, I'm gonna try this,' and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work." To your point, right? The yoga
Right.
business started to slow down, and you were like, "Alright, how can I hate to use the word, but pivot." I know that was
Yeah.
overused during the pandemic.
Yeah. Pivot, pivot, pivot. Yeah.
Pivot, pivot, pivot.
Yeah.
People are like, "Don't say it."
But
The
ultimately,
double
that's what I
P.
did. Yeah.
That's exactly what you did. Yeah, you optimized, and what you learned through your yoga world and business absolutely has helped you with the mobile bartending.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
there's a chance that had you done it in reverse, it wouldn't have been as successful, right? Like, if you
Mm-hmm.
tried the bartending first, you probably wouldn't have been as successful because there was something you had to learn and grow and go through
Mm-hmm.
to get you to where you are now, even if you don't know what that is, even if you don't see it. If you
Right.
really looked back and were like, "Oh, yeah, if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have been able to handle X, Y, and Z, or I
Yeah.
wouldn't have been able to do whatever." Like, I
It's,
have the video business, right? And it's not the same as the speaking business, although they are similar. But
mm-hmm.
the video business has opened me up to corporate clients and getting corporate contracts and being like, "Okay, yeah, this is real. I can do this."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Instead of being like, "Oh, well, but I'm not there. I'm not this. I'm not that." Like, "No, no, no, no. It's out there. You can do
Yeah.
it."
Yeah, you start before you're ready.
Ah,
That's
yes.
yeah. That's the scary part. That's where a lot of people get hung up. They let all that fear get in the way. But, it's not necessarily about, like, with the yoga business and with the bartending business, like, I didn't have my packages built out before I started.
Right.
I started and I learned what my clientele, what my audience needed, what they needed from me, what they needed from the service itself.
Mhm.
And then I built, packages, pricing, all of that from there. I mean,
Yeah.
you have to start somewhere. And when I started both businesses, I was undercharging
Oh,
because I,
100%.
and you don't know what to charge right at first. You got to just like jump in, know that you're going to make some money.
Mhm.
And then you're like, okay, then you start to know your worth and you start to understand all of the time, that goes into it.
It really goes into it. Yep.
Because I
Because
mean,
it's
I'll
more.
tell you, I'll tell you this too. Like, we don't just show up and pour, right? There's a
Really? Wow.
whole there's a whole, several days, weeks, maybe even months before that we are planning for your event first of all. And then there's the whole organization of all of the product, everything that we need to bring to the event. And then the setup, the pour
Mhm.
time, the maintenance and the bar management, the cleanup, the loadout. I mean, you know, what people think, oh, well, I only need you for 2 hours. Well, it's more than just 2 hours.
Yeah, it
You know,
really
there's
is.
there's a lot that goes in behind it. And like when I really started noticing that, I was like, dang, okay, yeah, I need to make sure. Like we did a party for Amazon Prime. It was a wrap party. This was back,
Ooh, that's cool.
yeah, 2023. Yeah, it was awesome. It was so much fun. And again, came from networking. So I spent probably 15 days prior to the event itself, making sure we had everything, organizing things. I mean, there's a whole process,
Oh, yeah.
staffing, hiring, and then there's the load up, the load in, the set up, the pour, the breakdown. I mean, it's making sure it's clean, like we don't
Mhm.
walk away with bars being dirty. If it's their bar, if it's our bar, obviously we take it with us, but we make sure that the space is cleaned up and all of the product that they're keeping, the alcohol that they're keeping is boxed in its original box and it's, set to the side for them. So we don't just leave things in shambles. And that's all part of it. That's all part of a premium service.
Well, and a service that you probably want over what you're not thinking about because especially if you're new to it, right? Like, you don't
Hmm.
know what to expect. But your point, it always takes more time in the beginning too, in the
Hmm.
of learning about it all, right? So you've definitely gotten more efficient, right? It probably doesn't take you as long, but that's because you have the knowledge, and knowledge is worth money. It has that value because you can go in and handle something that you wouldn't have been able to at the very beginning that you can now, or that a different company might not have that experience in.
Right.
And that makes a huge difference.
Hmm. Yeah.
People value that.
And I mean, I knew bar setups. I knew there's a lot of things that I knew, but I hadn't put into practice just on my own. But again, it's just that start before you're ready. It's just to
Yeah.
do it. Like, get a client, figure it out. Call upon people that are knowledgeable. People that you might already have in your network that are
Mhm.
knowledgeable just about maybe organization. That was something that I really had to learn. Like, I'm organized, but not as organized as I needed to be,
Mhm. Sure. Yeah.
because, yeah, I mean, I like everything to have its own separate box. It's like, this is what needs to be pulled out first, second, third. Don't touch this. This is extra, So,
Yep.
but stick notes on everything so that my staff
Yep.
sees, like, okay, set this up first, set this up second, because it just makes everyone so much more efficient and it's less stress for me too.
Yeah, and that front end preparation is big. It's
Hmm.
really big. My husband always gives me a hard time. He's like, "I think you packed too much." And then we'll get somewhere and he'll need some random thing and I'll have it and he'll be like, "Oh, you're the best." And I'm like, "Because
Yeah.
I prepared for this."
You're like, it
Remember when
takes
you
a
were giving me a
woman.
hard time?
Yeah. Takes a
Yeah.
woman.
Sometimes it does.
Yeah.
Sometimes it does. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Stephanie, it has been such a pleasure. We have gone on, and I love that about it. Do you have anything else, any last words of wisdom about, betting on yourself, the confidence, anything you want to leave the people with before I bring up what your website is and business is so we can for sure get your information out?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that if you have the urge to start something, or maybe you've already started it, jump into it and keep going. Um, Keep showing up, find those networking groups, find that supportive community that is going to support you, that's going to give you those, that words of wisdom, that's going to show up as your cheerleaders, that's going to help you when you are, maybe not feeling the best about things. Like, find that supportive network and just keep showing up for yourself and keep showing up for whatever venture that you really believe in, that you're called to do.
I love that. Stephanie's website is The Rolling Pour, Pour, because guess what? She's pouring you a drink,
Mhm.
.com. Where else do you hang out? Where else can they find you? Best way to connect with you, Stephanie.
So yeah, you can find me on Instagram, which is the Rolling Pour,
Mhm.
Pour. That's a great place to get a little bit more of a feel of vibe of what we offer, what some of our bar setups look like. Best way to get in contact with me is just through the contact page of my website. My cell phone
Perfect.
number is there. I prefer just call me. If you've got something coming up, just call me. I always answer my phone. And if I don't, I call you back pretty right away, but I always have my phone near me. And let's talk about your event. Share with me the vision that you have. And then we can start, plug and play some of the offers that we have and build a customized package that fits your needs.
Perfect. Stephanie, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. If this was valuable for you as the listener, please let us know, leave a comment. What is your biggest takeaway from all of this? Or what's your favorite cocktail? I mean, that's
Yeah,
absolutely welcome too. We like cocktails here, in case that wasn't
absolutely.
evident. But also, if it was useful and you think there's somebody that could enjoy, learn, grow, please share it out with anybody that would be of use. This is Yes You May with Amanda Mae Gray. We are on all the platforms: YouTube, I don't know, Spotify, Apple Podcast, you name it. It's out there. Go find it. Thank you for being on, Stephanie. Thank you all
Thank
for watching, and I hope you guys have a beautiful day.